Welcome back to part number 2 of What If Darth Vader Found Out Leia Was His Daughter. Thank you so much for your support on part 1. If you are not aware of the first part or are not subscribed, please do those first before watching this video. Entering Obi-Wan's hut, the Jedi Master walks over to his box and finds a dusty lightsaber buried amongst his possessions. Passing it over to Luke, the curious Tatooine native ignited it and felt a connection with the blade, as Obi-Wan recalls how his father had used it in the Clone Wars. Leia then informs Obi-Wan of what Vader had done aboard the Death Star, but he refused to believe it to be true. He had spent his entire solitude on Tatooine, trying to get rid of the memories of his former apprentice, and as Yoda had always said, one never returned from the dark side. Leia, however, refused to believe otherwise, and she soon received a transmission from Bail Organa, reporting the location of an Imperial base from a hidden source. Obi-Wan is suspicious that it could be a trap, and pleads with Leia not to go, but she and Luke ignore him and take R2-D2 and C3P0 in a land speeder to Anchorhead, and then go to the spaceport of Mos Eisley, where a rebel ship is awaiting their arrival. Just as they enter the hangar, the twins hear gunfire and turn around to repel the attacks of multiple stormtroopers and fly away to meet at a secret rebel base. Back in Obi-Wan's hut, the Jedi Master cannot believe that Leia and Luke had accepted the help of a powerful Sith, capable of influencing an individual of the strongest mind. Searching into the Force, his visions became unclear, and the masks that had been haunting him for decades had vanished, until he was interrupted by a rumbling from outside. Uncle Owen was stamping outside of his entrance, expressing a displeasure to Obi-Wan. Unwilling to attack the violent moisture farmer, Obi-Wan used the Force to project some sand and found a path to Mos Eisley as well. The Jedi Master haggles to obtain a rusty starfighter and goes to the ship of Bail Organa, where there, to his astonishment, was Grandmaster Yoda. Obi-Wan bowed to the wise Jedi, and Yoda had sensed a shift in the Force that Obi-Wan had not whilst on Dagobah, and knew this was his time to leave his exile, to be a shining beacon for the Jedi for a final time. It was time for Obi-Wan to face the fact that Vader may not be what he had left them to be on the lava banks of Mustafar, and help to train Luke. With the plans of the Death Star also aboard, the rebels made their preparations to mount an attack on the mighty superweapon, and Luke led a squadron into the coordinates given by Vader. On the bridge aboard the rebel cruiser, Yoda performed battle meditation to enhance their chances of success, and Obi-Wan led the infiltration of the Death Star's core, and to disable its super laser array, before he could take out rebel planets. This was the time to discover if Vader had been true to his word, and supporting the rebellion. The Jedi Master steadied himself for the battle ahead, practicing several motions with his lightsaber that he had rarely used on Tatooine, and led the rebel officers inside. The number of opposing Imperial troopers caused alarm amongst the rebels, but Obi-Wan had the most powerful ally in the Force, and he used it to push 2 lines of stormtroopers into the hangar walls, breaking their necks with disturbing ease. The rebel troops began to gain ground, allowing for Obi-Wan to move to disable the terrifying laser, but arriving at the operating station, Vader stood in his path like a pillar of terror. The Sith apprentice ignited his blade and slowly moved to clash blades with his former master, as if testing him. Despite his hatred for him, Vader knew that Leia would never forgive him if he killed Obi-Wan, and decided to avoid the suspicions of Palpatine and the surrounding guards by making the battle look convincing. The Jedi Master latches onto Vader's plan, and they dueled through the area, as the operating officers gazed in awe. The battle then took an unexpected turn, as they received orders from the Emperor to fire, and Obi-Wan reacted fast, throwing his lightsaber at the controls, sending the alarms into a frenzy, and everyone ran to an escape pod, except Vader, who casually entered his ship to aim at the rebel starfighters. From his tired-run shuttle, the Sith apprentice sensed Leia aboard the rebel cruiser, but also another presence in one of the X-Wings homing in on the exhaust port. Aboard that ship, rebel pilot Luke Skywalker launched his torpedoes, but he misfired without the guidance of the Force. Vader realised that it had been his son, and followed the rebel pilots into the trench, then checked his scopes to ensure no other TIE pilots were around him, before firing his own group of missiles, and detonating the technological terror that his master had longed for. Vader hoped that Palpatine had not been aware of his betrayal. That is it for part 2 of What If Darth Vader Found Out Leia Was His Daughter. If you'd like to see a part 3 soon, please like this video, turn on that notification bell, click that subscribe button on this channel, as well as on my other channel What If Films. And as always, leave a comment on what if you'd all like to see next, and how I can improve my videos. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next time.